All right, good morning, guys. I made a video because I'm not going to be able to have class with you because of getting ready for the snowball fight. So I wanted to make sure that we were able to go over your highlights so we don't get behind on anything. So go ahead and get your books and a highlighter out. You can pause the video if you need to do that yet. Okay, so open your books to page 49. And I'm going to give you highlights for pages 49 to 54. So follow along closely so that you can get your highlights done. You'll then need to use your Google Classroom to go back and see what words you need to write definitions for today. Okay, so on page 49 in the first column, you're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines, and I want you to highlight two fundamental concepts that govern production is the law of supplies and demand. That needs to be highlighted. You will need to know that. Going on down in your first column, that last little paragraph down there at the end, the bold word demand. Demand is the amount of a good that is bought at a certain price, under certain conditions, or in the context of this chapter, the relationship between a good's price and the amount that people are willing to buy it. That is demand. So it gives you like a broad definition, but then it brings it down to in the context of this chapter. You need to know both of those definitions. And then the next paragraph in that second column, supply was defined as the quantity of a good for sale at a certain price under certain conditions. And then it says here, we'll see that supply as relationship to the chapter that we're in, between between a goods price and the amount that producers are willing to provide for consumers. So once again, you have like a very broad definition, but then you have what we need to know concerning this chapter. So all of that should be highlighted. Supply was defined as the quantity of a good for sale at a certain price under certain conditions, but then supply as the relationship between a good's price and the amount that producers are willing to provide for consumers. Those are both supply. The last two lines on page 49, two chief types of value is value in use and value in exchange. You will need to know that. The two types of value, well, the chief types, value in use and value in exchange. Those are the main types. Turn to page 50. On page 50, it says you're going to highlight this. Goods can have value in use or value that is directly related to the benefits their owners receive through their use. So you need to know and understand value in use. And then on page 50, you'll notice there's the dark title there, The Dedham Farmer and the Boston Merchant Bargain. I need you to read the whole thing through about the Dedham Farmer from page 50 all the way to page 52. You're going to read about that. And then right now I'm going to give you things to define in there. But a lot of the things that we're defining refers back to the full reading. So I do need you to read that and understand the Dedham Farmer and the Boston Merchant Bargain. It's kind of it's not a boring thing to read. So do that from page 50 to page 52. And then looking on page 51, in the first column, the dark bold words value and exchange. So it's talking about the second kind of value. So value in use was one kind. The second kind of value is value in exchange. So this is what a particular good is worth in exchange for some other good. And you should highlight that right there. I thought I stopped video, and I'm sorry while I stare at y'all. So the second type of value is called value in exchange, which is what a particular good is worth in exchange for some other good. Looking in the second column, you'll see the bold word price. By the word price, we mean the amount of money that a buyer pays the seller for a particular item. You need to know that. Turning to page 52. Now this is referring back to our story, the Dedham Farmer and the Boston Merchant Bargain, but I need you to highlight this because you will need to know it. So in the first paragraph, the 1, 2, 3, starting in the fourth line down, the prices that the two men would have obtained for their molasses and pine boards are their market prices, those prices at which goods can be sold in an open market with many potential sellers and buyers. You need to know that. Then go on down to the very next paragraph. and highlight all of this, that you're actually highlighting the rest of page 52. Value in exchange varies from one day to the next, depending on the supply of those goods and on the current demand for them. The scarcer a good happens to be, the more people are willing to pay for that good. Remember back in COVID when you couldn't buy toilet paper anywhere, man, people would have paid $10 a roll for toilet paper, back during that time. So the traders in the market negotiate until they can agree upon a price reflecting the relative scarcity of and the current demand for the goods being exchanged. The agreed upon price becomes the value in exchange on any particular day of the two goods. So for instance, suppose that the Boston merchant and the Dedham farmer took their goods to an open market, you're still highlighting, where they both found buyers who could pay money for the goods. If merchants were paid 20 shillings for each barrel of molasses, the value in exchange of a barrel of molasses that particular day in Boston would have been 20 shillings. If farmers were able to sell similar pine boards for 15 shillings a load, then the value in exchange of the quantity of boards would have been 15 shillings. So then on page 53, a lot of this is I pretty much just took my highlighter around the whole page because it all is filled with very important things that we need to go over together. So at the end of the first paragraph, it says the last 3 lines, the more we have of a good, the less value additional units of that thing has to us. Let's say we're sitting at home and we have 10 cases of toilet paper. We're not going to care how much toilet paper is going for now. We don't care if it's going for $10 a roll or a penny a roll. We have 10 cases of toilet paper. So we're really not going to care about the price of that toilet paper. Look at the next paragraph. The phenomenon of, the less value additional units of that has for us, this is a phenomenon as the principle of diminishing marginal utility. And we can define that as saying, as one supply of a specific good or service increases, the satisfaction derived from each additional unit tends to decrease. And then looking at the bold word right there in the first column, marginal utility. That is the amount of satisfaction that results from one unit increase of a product. And then at the bottom of page 53 in the second column, total utility, or the total amount of satisfaction received from possessing a particular amount of good. So you have marginal utility and total utility. Know the difference between the two. And that is pretty much our highlights for today. So make sure you have those highlighted in your books. You will use those to answer questions coming up later. Thank y'all and see you at the snowball fight.